Okay, so welcome back. If you are just getting into the course and you're wondering what the heck all this work is about, this video is the beginning of a series of videos for week 1 classwork that are really important. And the reason is that I'm going to give you first an overview of the course, and then I'll start talking about how each item in this class works. And then by the end of this, the idea is that you have a much better idea, kind of idea twice there, but you have a much better understanding of how this course is going to work, what you need to do, what's required. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn to the screen and get started. So as I talked about in the first video, this calendar is really important. But before we go there, because hopefully you've already played around here, let's actually go to the syllabus. Because anytime you start a new course, the important part is reading through the syllabus and figuring out what it is you're going to be learning, what's required. And again, I've talked about this in the first video, so hopefully you have a good idea here that you can do either buy the book from the bookstore or you can buy it directly from the website, which I will go over in a video in the future here, in the near soon future, meaning in a couple minutes, about how to do that. Okay, so you are going to need the textbook for the chapter quizzes. You are going to need the My IT lab to complete the simulations and the hands-on experiences. So let me scroll down and start talking about what that means. Oh, so by the way, and I will talk about this, is that you can now get Office 2013, Microsoft Office for free by just being enrolled at Fresno City College. Okay, and this is part of having your email account. So it is really important that you are using the campus email account, which gives you really the primary contact for the campus, and now also gives you Microsoft Office. So why is this important? Because you are going to need Microsoft Office to complete some of the work for this class. But more on that later. So as I scroll down here, I can see that our class is made up of the following items. We have chapter quizzes, which is why you need the textbook. Right, there's 9 of them. Each of them account for 2.22%. We have hands-on experience, hands-on assignments where actually you get hands-on with this stuff. Those are the same 9, 2.22%. The My IT lab exams and the practical exams. Okay, so just in your mind, let's just clarify. Exams are actually simulated, meaning it'll say, do this in Word, do this in Excel. The practical exams are where you actually need Microsoft Office in order to complete the work, okay? Now, there are 12 total of these two combined, worth 2.92. So this item totally is worth 35% of your grade. So one of the things students ask me, and I know it's just one of the things we want to know, is can I do this class without the textbook or this software? And the answer is no, because 35% of it you won't be able to pass because you need 70% to pass. So you do need, are required to get the materials. So in addition to the My IT lab, the chapter quizzes will also be using the textbook. So for those things, you do need to have the materials, okay? So again, we'll talk about this in a future video. I just want to set the understanding here. So classwork is actually what this item is intended to start with, and I'll talk about that, how that works in a minute, but know this, is that there are 17 of them, right? Each one worth 1.8%. These will vary based on what we're doing that week. Sometimes you will see a lecture that I did last semester. Sometimes you will actually have more of a hands-on experience, and sometimes you will watch YouTube videos and other things that I've sourced for that week. And then you will have a final. Okay, so that's worth 5%, and that's the chapter quizzes, basically all together in one big quiz for the chapters 1 through 9. Now I will talk about how chapter quizzes and how the final exam works in a later video, but that's just to understand that really it's like 25% if you take in chapter quizzes, then the final 35%, so that 60% of this class comes from having the course materials. Really important. And I will talk about the acquisition and a little bit of that later. So this is the schedule that is laid out for the 18-week semester. So remember, I told you that the students taking this in summer, you still have all the work from an 18-week semester. So all I've done here is take off the dates And really, this is just for reference because the most important thing for you to do is look at the calendar. And it might be funny for us to talk about the end of the semester at the beginning, but we need to. So there's going to be something called late work, and that means you can submit things late, but they do get points taken away. The last date you can ask me for that is the end of August. We will have a review day, which means you get to review your grades, and then I will post grades here. So you need to keep these dates in mind because they are very, very important, okay? So here's the normal, this is pretty normal grade range of what takes an A. So you do have to have minimum 70% to pass this class, okay? Mostly you'll be using Windows. Some of you will be using a Mac or possibly Linux, possibly a Chromebook. I will tell you that Mac and Windows users should have no issue here. Chromebook users will, and Linux users may because of the My IT Lab stuff. Sorry to tell you that that's true. You do have to do attendance once a week, okay, and I talked about that in the welcome video. Now, attendance does show up on your My Grade that I'll be talking about here, but it's not graded. The only reason it's in My Grade is so that you can see how many you have, and I take attendance per week, okay? So, and here, this is actually a little outdated. I need to update this. I'm going to make attendance available on Monday. It will be available all the way through Friday. But again, you only have to do it once. And this is for the regular semester, but it's important to know here, especially in a 6-week format, you can't miss any attendance for the first couple weeks because those are really the most, and really in this class it's the first week, I should say. Okay, but again, I've gone over that. Late work we'll talk about more later. Again, if you have other issues, right, making sure you're getting in contact with me if you have anything that, keeps you from, completing things, I'll work with you the best I can, but that is also, and I'll talk about this later, other ways that you can get opportunities to do late work without points removed. Email, this is the email link. I would recommend actually Fresno City College here. Fresno's website has gotten a lot better. We actually have somebody maintaining it for us now. If you go to For Students and you go to email and Wi-Fi, there is a much better list and information about the campus email accounts and how to get it reset if you can't get in there and stuff like that. So I'll not go over that here, but just know that is important, okay? All right, so let's scroll back up here. So that's just the course overview, how things are broken down. So let's talk about that calendar one more time. So in here, the calendar, right? So your first thing is you're gonna have a discussion board. And these are really, I could just actually go here, I can click into here, and I'm gonna go in and here's your instructions for what you need to do, okay? So in this case, what you do is basically hit reply, right? And you're going to say who's in the house, and it would be, like Rio's in the house. And this is just the subject line, and you only have to change this on your post. And I could say maybe something, and you can get creative here, right? Is in the house, and then you're going to write 200 words. Now, I will say this here, is that this little editor right here gives you some basic editing function, right? But you can also do this to see more functions, and all I did was I clicked right there, okay? So I'm not gonna write 200 words here, okay? But you would write 200 words, and if you want, you can hit Save as Draft. Now, Save as Draft only shows it to you, which is important to know, right? And then once you've done that, you will see a draft. Know that I don't see it, none of your other fellow students see it, but when you wanna come back in, you hit Edit, and then it gives you that ability to keep working, okay? So what will happen here is you will do your 200 words, and then you have to reply to 2 students with 75 words. And what are you replying to? Well, you're reading their post, and it's just like saying something back to their post. And really, you're just introducing yourself here, okay? All right, so that's classwork. That's your first assignment. Now, one thing that's important here, and I'm going to, oh, very good. So if I click off of something, it's going to say you want to leave this page. I'm going to stay on it, and the reason is I forgot to hit Save as Draft. Now, I didn't really save anything, but that's important to know. So I'm going to go over here, because here's the deal. I started this item, and this is something you're going to understand all the way through this class as you do more and more items. Right now, we're doing, let me go back, calendar, right? We're doing our first item, and in this case, it's a hands-on assignment, okay? And the reason I know that is if I go to discussion boards, and this is again where I was at, it shows me I'm here. Well, you can actually do this as well. You can also get in here by going hands-on assignment, okay? So anytime there are hands-on assignments, and there again are 9 of them, right? And these are listed in inverse order, so don't worry too much about that because you're getting to them through the calendar. But again, I'm going to come in here. So I'm going to come back in here, okay? So this is your first item. And the reason I brought this up was that if you go to my grades right now, what you will see when you go to my grades, and I'm going to scroll down for who's in the house. Scroll down, make sure. I'm just looking through the list here to see what's there, right? So because I haven't actually submitted anything yet, because I've just drafted it, right? So it shows you when it's due, so that grade is important. So I'm going to go back in here, because actually it used to show up if I've started something. I'll actually just do this. I'm going to go ahead and go into my edit. Oh, I need to hit submit. So when you're finished on your reply, you'll hit submit, okay? So again, and by the way, good to know, when you hit submit, everyone sees it. So let's actually come back into my grade again. Now we actually will see on this who's in the house, you will see this blue, and if you put your mouse on it, it says in progress. And you might wonder, well, why has that not been, it's in progress means I'm still working on it. And the reason is, in this case, if you go back in and you read carefully, and God knows that's really important, okay, is that you actually have to do 2 replies, okay? So just by, this you would reply to other students, so just know that I'm just showing you the way this works. I'm just going to put some text, I'm going to hit submit. So I've done 1 reply, I'm going to do another one, and then submit it again. So in this case, don't worry so much what I'm writing, just that I've done a post, a reply, and then I've replied to 2 students. And now that I've done this, when I go into my grade, what I see here is that I have a submit. Or in this case, what this means is it needs grading. So I need to go in and look at your writing, right? See how well you've done the work that's required. I do want you to have proper grammar, proper syntax here, okay? So I will look at that and then grade it, and then when I grade it, you will have a grade and then notes on there, okay? So that's your first item, and again, you will have, and you can see it in the calendar, 9 of these. This first one's really easy. Some of the other classwork items are really kind of more fun, and I'll talk about them in a little bit about what you're going to need to complete some of these other items, okay? So let's actually, before we end this video, come back in here. Okay, so what I've done here is I've introduced the course. I've walked you through your first hands-on assignment that you found in the calendar. I've talked about the grades and how that shows up. So now I want to talk about the week 1 classwork. So let's come in here. The content in here right now is going to look different when you see it, okay? So I'm going to scroll down. So what I did is I clicked on classwork, right? And it says uploading the assignment. Well, you're actually not going to upload. You're going to actually put notes here, okay? So I want you to go down until you see text submission and hit write submission. Okay, again, if you see it like this, right, expand it out so you have it. So what we're going to be doing in this week 1 classwork is you're going to be watching this series of videos and you're going to be taking notes, right? So let's just go ahead and get started. So let's go, right, week 1 classwork. I'm going to type the text. I'm going to click drag across. I'm going to do a heading, right? And then I'm going to hit return. And now at this point, what we can do is sometimes, depending on the browser, this works, where you actually can do notes here. So what I'd want to see is your notes from listening to this first video. Now, you're not done with classwork yet. We're going to continue it in a minute, but you at least have a start on the classwork because this is the notes, right, from the first video. I'll probably have named it something by then. So what you want to do here, again, is hit Save as Draft. Now the difference is, last thing I will say here, the difference is here, when you're doing classwork, and this should go in your notes, only you see the classwork. When you're doing hands-on, everyone sees it once you submit it, okay? So let's go ahead, and again, you could go to my grade and look at this, and I'll go ahead and stop this video, and we'll pick it up in a minute.